right, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to attend our first boot camp of 2025. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, a good holiday, a happy new year to everyone, and we're all recharged to kind of start 2025 off in an exciting new way. So if you've never attended any of my boot camps before, my name is Stefanie Hammond. I am the head nerd that is responsible for all things sales and marketing related. Been with Enable for 20 years, a lot of different roles during my tenure. And then I've been in this head nerd, kind of training, business development, consulting role for about 4 years now. So you can see my contact information there on the screen. I'm on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, we should be linked together, and you can see my email there as well. So this is a jam-packed day, jam-packed session, not gonna lie. There's a lot, it was about 2 and a bit hours this morning when I went through it together, but there's a lot that we wanna go through, and I really wanna focus on, well, today's boot camp and next week's boot camp is really gonna be focused on lead gen, because it continues to be a really big struggle for a lot of MSPs. And so I wanna focus on how do you develop a system for lead gen that is more than just referrals. And so we're going to be talking about 8 key strategies that you can use to help better market yourself so that you can generate not only new leads for your organization, but more importantly, I really want to stress how we can attract and generate better leads for our organization. And then after we review these 8 key strategies, I want to review, all of the marketing resources that Enable has to help you with your marketing so that you can be more consistent with your marketing endeavors, because the ultimate goal of today's session, followed by next week's session, is to help you get in front of more prospects in 2025 and beyond. And so when I launch the poll for feedback at the end of today's boot camp, I really would be curious if I was able to kind of help with that goal. So kicking things off, the latest Canalys roundup report that I received, I think it was last week or the week before, it came out at the end of 2024. And Canalys cited that managed services revenue growth, they predict it's going to be around 11% on a year-over-year basis, so 2023 to 2024. Then looking ahead into 2025, they have continued optimism for growth in the managed services sector. And that's really going to be driven by cybersecurity, cloud, AI, and for those MSPs that have a focus on compliance and certifications, that type of thing. And so they are expecting revenue growth to actually be a bit higher at around 13% for 2025. And businesswire.com predicts that the global managed services market is expected to reach about $311 billion by 2027. But in saying all that, from our 2024 Horizons report that Enable did with the channel research firm Canalys, they cited that almost 1 in 4 MSPs still rate new customer acquisition as their #1 business challenge. And I just had a peek at our 2025 report. I'm going to be actually delivering a podcast on that in February when we launch it. We interviewed, I think, 500 different MSPs for that one, and it's still #1. I think it's actually 23% of MSPs that were surveyed did cite lead gen and new customer acquisition as their top business challenge. So it still seems to be a very relevant topic for many MSPs. So what I want to do, again, with today's boot camp, next week's boot camp, is really talk about how can you develop a better system around lead gen to help fill your pipeline with new businesses and business owners that are going to want to speak with you. Because with a lot of the MSPs that I've been speaking with, often they will cite that their main source of lead gen is pretty much through word of mouth and referrals, and that they actually don't have kind of like a system or processes in place for generating leads for their MSP. But we all know that if we're just relying on referrals as our main source of lead gen, not a really sustainable way if you have really big, company growth objectives for your MSP. Like if you're looking for that double-digit growth, as good as referrals are, they may not get you there, right? It shouldn't be your de facto company growth strategy. And there's a couple of reasons why I continue to kind of see this as being a continuous challenge for MSPs that I speak with. I think the first one being is that, you know, MSPs, most, like a lot, I'm not going to say most, I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of them have kind of that technical background, right? And so they're not very comfortable when it comes to the sales and marketing side of their MSP. They're not comfortable promoting themselves and their business because it's just not something that's in their wheelhouse. And so they don't have a good cohesive marketing strategy. And oftentimes marketing is kind of seen as an afterthought, and it's done, if they do marketing, you know, if you've seen any of my other podcasts, I talk about kind of being whack-a-mole, right? You know, we'll do a little bit of marketing here, and then we'll go back to doing what we're doing, and then we'll do a little bit of marketing there. You know, so it's kind of this up and down, very inconsistent ad hoc approach that they're taking to marketing, and then they're wondering why they're not getting leads and seeing mediocre results. And I think what is compounding this is that, you know, MSPs are busy. Like, you guys are doing a lot of things and wearing a lot of hats, so you don't have a lot of time or even the resources to devote to that. You know, you don't, especially if you're a smaller MSP listening to me today, you probably, marketing's probably on you, right? You know, you're just lacking, you know, just the people to kind of help you get the marketing initiative off the ground. And then compounding that is then you get the lead, we don't really have the right sales processes in place to kind of take that new lead that's been generated via your marketing and then move them through the sales process so they become a new signed contract in the end. And so starting with today's boot camp, next week's boot camp, and then into February is where we start talking about sales strategies and the sales process and moving your client down the sales funnel. My goal is to hopefully, if this is all new to you, you know, see what I can do to demystify the world of sales and marketing, and more so give you a plan for success so that you can move beyond just relying on word of mouth and referrals to grow your MSP. So just want to launch just a quick poll just to get a feel for, you know, how is everybody on the line kind of handling the marketing component today? You know, so are you outsourcing it to a third-party marketing agency? You know, do you have internal people that are dedicated to the marketing functions? So you have, you know, kind of a department. Maybe you just have one person that's doing the marketing, but it's a full-time paid position. Maybe you're just starting out to explore the marketing function. Or, you know, maybe you don't have anyone dedicated to marketing. And so it is kind of that whack-a-mole kind of ad hoc type of motion at best. So I'll just give everyone a moment to finish voting. All right, so similar results to what I had this morning. Oh, there we go. So there we go. All right, so votes are coming in. Okay, so a little bit better than what we had this morning. This morning, pretty much everybody that was on it, thank you everyone for voting, they were kind of in the boat of number 5. You know, they didn't have anybody dedicated to marketing. It was kind of ad hoc at best. But it looks like we have some MSPs where they do have at least one person employed in the marketing role. So that is good to hear. So for the people that don't really have anybody dedicated to marketing, if it's on you, hopefully I'll be able to give you some good insights and some nuggets here to kind of get going on that. And to start with that, to try and create that plan, create that strategy for you, what you're seeing here is a list of really the 8 key strategies that we are going to talk about today that could be used to help fill your marketing and sales funnel. And you know, these are what have been used by top revenue MSPs. This is what they do to really help fill their funnel and what they do to get in front of more small and medium-sized business owners. So I've kind of taken all of their experience and obviously my own sales and marketing knowledge to kind of come up with these, you know, 8 strategies for getting in front of more small and medium-sized businesses. And the first one is really working to define your ideal client prospect, so that ICP type of thing. And, when I'm working with MSPs and they're telling me that, the marketing doesn't work, there's, I keep trying things and nothing's working, sales isn't producing anything. When I get those kind of, frustrations, the very first question that I ask them is, okay, well, paint me a picture of who you're trying to sell to. Who do you want to do business with and who do you want to have as customers? And for the most part, the response that I normally get back tends to be very general and ambiguous. They'll tell me, you know what, Steph, I just want more small and medium-sized businesses as customers. That's all that I want. But when you think about this, these potentially could be two very different target audiences. And because they're two very different target audiences, they're going to require two completely different types of service offerings, different marketing strategies, different sales messaging. And depending on how you define, especially a medium-sized business, this could be an organization that has maybe an internal IT department. Maybe they have one or two people, or maybe even a team of IT resources in-house. So, if you're just blanket, promoting and marketing or selling to all businesses of all sizes, you might be targeting these types of organizations that have internal IT, but you might be sending them messaging and service offerings that are more geared towards the traditional managed services market. And I define traditional managed services as those organizations that don't have anybody internal looking after their IT. So they're looking to outsource it to you, and you become 100% responsible for the care, protection, security, and management of their network. So if you're sending, an IT VP of IT or an IT director information about outsourcing their IT, you're probably going to get shut down before you can even get a foot in the door, because your traditional managed services model, it's going to be seen as a threat to those internal IT resources. They're going to think that you're just coming in trying to eliminate their roles and get them fired. And so again, you're not going to get any sort of engagement out of those types of organizations. But if you are promoting them, messaging around a co-managed IT services model, and then you're talking about partnerships, then you would be a better fit for that organization. And so it is important that when you're starting to strategize, how to increase the volume of leads into your sales funnel, you have to think about, well, who am I selling to? And then what is it that I'm trying to sell them? Again, are you wanting to position and sell your traditional managed services model or your traditional outsourced security services model? Or if you are targeting mid-sized organizations, depending on how you define that, are you looking to sell them co-managed? And again, an important distinction, because two very different customer segmentation models, two very different sales conversations, therefore two very different marketing messages they have to put together. So talking about then, who do you plan to target? And a lot of the times the answer I do get back, still very ambiguous and vague, is, what, I just want to speak to everyone and anyone who will speak with me. I get that question, I get that response back more often than not. But again, if you think about that, that's a very broad market to go after. And so we do want to refine this further and think about who specifically do we want to target and speak to. Because whatever you come up with from that reflection, that is what's going to be used for your marketing and sales. That's how that's who you're going to build your plan around, so that you can attract those types of quality clients to your MSP. And so we get that by working to define our ideal client profile, that ICP. Because according to some research that was done by SalesInsightLab.com, they did a study where they spoke to over 400 salespeople, and they found that of the 71% of respondents said that 50%, at least 50% of the prospects they were engaged with were not a good fit for what they were selling. And this is a huge stat that every time I kind of read it, I just get upset about, because as a former salesperson, it's hard. Sales is hard. And the last thing you want to do is spending your time spinning your wheels, dealing with prospects who they're never going to buy from you. They're just not a good fit. And so what we want to do is make sure that as we're designing our marketing plan and our sales process, that we are attracting the best type of leads who are a good fit for us, because that's just going to increase our close rate later on. If we can have really good prospects from the beginning, because that's going to make it easier to kind of move them through the sales funnel as we go along. So as you're putting your marketing plan together, we do want to focus on creating that ICP first, that ideal client profile first. And this is really our baseline client type that you want to set for yourself in terms of who do you want to target and who do you want to do business with moving forward. And then everything from a marketing and sales perspective then flows out of that. And I like to equate this to, you know, every MSP that I've ever spoken with over the last 20 years, they have mapped out a technological baseline standard that all of their customers have to adhere to. You know, they know what quality of network their customers have to have before they'll even take them on as a client. This is the same idea when we look at what is an ICP. The ICP is your client baseline standard from a business perspective, and that your prospects have to meet this client baseline standard before you even start engaging with them and doing business with them. And so to start building your ideal client profile, really what you want to focus on, you know, especially if you've never done this kind of exercise before, is really think about what kind of customers are you supporting now, and what characteristics do they possess that make them a really good client to work with. So obviously, if we look at our existing clients, your best clients, I would imagine, are probably your most profitable ones. You know, they are the ones that are generating kind of a healthy monthly recurring revenue for you. And they're generally the ones that are enrolled in kind of your whole suite of services that you have to offer. You know, they're not buying ad hoc services, they're not time material customers or a la carte customers, but they're probably in your, like, you know, advanced program, your fully managed program, your comprehensive security program, you know, whatever you call that program. Your good customers are also probably the ones that are easy to work with, I would imagine. You know, they listen to your recommendations, they value your input, they don't make any business decision until they consult with you first, because they're interested in hearing how their technology infrastructure will be impacted by their business decisions. So your best customers, they're coming to you first before they go to their accountant, their banker, or their lawyer. And your good customers are also those that I would imagine align well to your own company culture and to your core values. You know, they're the ones that they'll still show you and your team respect, even when there might be differences in opinions. And your good customers are those that really value your services, appreciate the relationship that you've been able to cultivate with them over the years. You know, they're the ones that do recognize quality, and they're willing to pay, you know, a proper fee for your services, because they recognize that their network security and their network performance, that is what is instrumental to their ongoing success of the business. So an activity that I generally encourage MSPs to complete, again, if you've never done this type of exercise before, to kind of help them really start defining what their ICP is going to look like, is to complete a customer segmentation exercise. And in the handout section, you'll see kind of just a sample Excel spreadsheet similar to the screenshot that's up here. But really, it's very simple. All you're doing is opening up that Excel spreadsheet, kind of listing out all of your existing clients down the side, and then along the top, you see a variety of different key characteristics that really work to kind of shape them as a company and describes the type of relationship that they have with you. And so then once you have that, you just start populating it, you know, with everything that you happen to know about the customers that you have. And the goal of this exercise then, once you've finished it, is to see if there are any patterns, or see if there are any similarities, you know, within your existing customer base that are ideal for you. And then you summarize these top characteristics, and that what forms the basis for your ideal client profile. And then that's what you use to build your marketing and your messaging, because again, the goal is we want to attract those types of prospects to our MSP. So what I'm listing here is just kind of a breakdown of those top key characteristics that you can use to help define the ideal client that you would like to have as a future client, because then this is what's going to help you create your dream list. You know, those top organizations in your area, and geographical location is the first characteristic there. You know, wherever you want to do business, that's where we want to, you know, really research and find what are those top organizations that we want to have as clients someday. So I have geographic location as a characteristic. Getting into how many locations would you prefer to support? Are you more comfortable supporting single locations, or, you know, are you more interested in supporting larger organizations that have multiple, like a headquarter and then multiple locations? Is there a preferred size of company that you like to work with? You know, how many employees would they typically have? Do you like the co-managed model? Do you prefer to support customers that have internal IT, or would you prefer organizations where you have that sole management responsibility of that prospects network? And then looking at industries or key verticals. Generally, the most successful MSPs tend to be those that are targeting one or two key verticals, and they really work to do everything they can to become specialists or experts in those verticals. And most of the time it is better to be specialized, because prospects, and if you think about, you know, your own personal situation, prospects will tend to pay more to deal with an MSP that has a unique specialization in a particular vertical or industry, and will generally be more attracted to working with MSPs who promote that they are a technological specialist in whatever their industry. Especially if you happen to have any expertise in some of the most common compliancy standards that are out there today. You know, if you have that level of expertise, then I'd be going all in and leveraging on that, and really targeting those organizations, those verticals that have to adhere to those, you know, that particular compliance requirement that you have that expertise in. And if you have that expertise, then you probably have security expertise as well that you can use to really promote and to, you know, out in your messaging and help mitigate risk of other businesses there. And then other things that I've seen, you know, do you have any good knowledge around specific line of business applications where you have specialized knowledge that you can support those and go after those types of clients? Is there any specific business challenge or struggle that maybe you've been able to help resolve for your existing customers that, you know, maybe, you know, it's not unique to just them? Like maybe there are other organizations out there, other prospects that might be grappling with that same challenge or struggle. And if you did a great job here supporting those clients with it, well, maybe that's, you know, marketing message there. Like maybe you can go after more customers because it's not as unique as maybe this customer thinks it is. And also like thinking about how prospects view their technology infrastructure. You know, if you had to ask them to rate their dependency on their technology infrastructure, what would that rating be? And then how would they react and handle any network downtime that they experience? Because ideally we want prospects who are heavily reliant, obviously, on their network. And we want prospects who view their technology infrastructure as being strategic to their business. And we want them to experience real pain whenever, you know, their network gets knocked offline. And when it's offline, obviously their employees, they can't work, they're unproductive. Obviously, we want to try and make sure we're targeting organizations that have a budget in place, because if they're not even budgeting for IT, gosh, their IT maturity is probably pretty low, and that will probably be an uphill battle trying to sell to those types of organizations. And ideally, we want to be targeting organizations that are stable and growing. So as you're doing your research, you know, if you see evidence of, you know, they're hiring, they're adding new employees, they're opening new locations, generally that would signal that they're probably in a growing industry and that they're a growing organization. And again, this is all really good information to have, because it's what we're going to rely on then to help with our messaging and help with our value prop statements. Because everything that we say, we want to make sure that the person or the prospect hearing that or seeing that or reading that feels that we are talking explicitly to them via our messaging. Now, as I was talking about that, if there's anyone on the line that is kind of like, getting twitches, thinking, how am I going to fill this out, Steph? Like, how am I going to find this information? And this is going to take me a lot of time. Yes, but it's a good investment of your time. But it's not a hard exercise, I think, to complete. I think really where the time is going to come into play is you just want to go and talk to your existing customers and kind of mine them for this kind of data. So if you don't have this kind of information off the top of your head, the easiest and surest way to get this data is to go and solicit it from your existing clients. Whether you send them out a survey, better yet, talk to them. Whether it's in an executive business review that you may have coming up, or maybe it's something that's out of cycle of that review, call them, do a video conference with them, take them for coffee, take them out for lunch, and just speak candidly with them about what you're trying to achieve. Just tell them that you're trying to build up your marketing, you're trying to build up your MSP, and ask them if you can help with that, if they'll be able to help, because your customers, they do really want to help you. And so you do want to ask your customers, if you're able to have that meeting with them, is find out from them, why did they sign with you in the first place? What did you do, say, demonstrate that made them feel, yeah, I'm going to go with this MSP. I'm going to leave who I'm using today. I'm going to switch over to you. Find out what drove that decision, and then ask them why they continue to stay loyal to you. There's a lot of MSPs out there. There's 335,000 of you out there globally. Why do they continue to stay with you? And in their mind, see if you can have them articulate, what are you doing well that is setting you apart from your competition? How are you been instrumental in supporting their business? What business problems have you been able to support them in the past? Looking at their technical problems, what have you done to solve those in the past? And what has been the impact on their business when their technology has failed them? Maybe with another MSP, maybe that's the purchasing trigger of why they came over to you. And from the technical information standpoint, if you can't get it out of your customer, you can get a lot of that technical data just from analyzing your best customer's ticket history. There is a wealth of information contained within your ticket history, and so you want to go in there. Also look at your closed won deals. If you have a PSA or if you have a CRM, hopefully there's notes in there around the sales process. What challenges did the prospect present to you? How did you overcome those challenges? If you're not documenting that type of history or that kind of story, put that into your CRM, because it's going to be invaluable for you down the line as we're building out our marketing messaging. Because the goal with all of this, again, is we want to have a really good understanding from our customers around why they make the business decisions that they do, and we want to get a good understanding around how you've helped them and how you've helped, improved their business. But if the customer isn't able to adequately articulate those challenges or those struggles to you, we can do some more research, right? There's lots of industry forums out there. There's lots of subreddits. Great way to help identify pain points. Because in these forums, a lot of the times, users, they will ask questions to, related to their business, because they're soliciting feedback from their peers. And so if you can get in there and read those posts, it's going to provide you some really good insight into what are the exact challenges your prospect customers are facing, and then how are their peers addressing those challenges. And then you can also look at industry publications, blogs. As you're speaking to your customers, find out what are they reading. What blogs do they follow? What podcasts do they listen to? And you listen to those podcasts as well, and you read those blogs and you read those magazines, so that anything that they're reading, you want to be knowledgeable about as well. And again, big benefits if you can put the effort into doing this, because I know it's going to take some time, but this kind of research is going to enable you to use that data, and that's what is going to form the foundational the foundation of your marketing strategy, you know, because you want to target like-minded individuals. So, and just as a you know, case in point to kind of close this point off, I have a partner, longtime partner of Enable. They did this exact exercise probably about 4 years ago now. And at that time, they had about 2,000 customers in their database. And they went through this profiling exercise on those 2,000 clients and used it to kind of define what their ideal client profile is going to be moving forward. Took some time, but they were able to whittle that database down to 125. Now, this is 4 years ago, it's grown since then, but they were able to whittle it down to 125 customers that they actually liked and that they actually enjoyed doing business with and who are profitable for them. And that now forms the client baseline standard for any new prospecting and marketing that they're doing from either a sales or a marketing perspective. And because of this exercise, they're now very deliberate, they're very intentional in who they target and ultimately do business with. And they have a really good subset of clients who wholeheartedly support them. And then kind of the icing on the cake is that when it comes to referrals and the word of mouth, because they're still getting referrals, even though they have a fully fledged marketing in place, any new referrals that they receive, they tend to be very high quality because the customers that made their cut are high quality clients. So the ones that they kept are high quality as well. So good clients begets good prospects, which really will then help kind of drive those new fresh leads into the top of your marketing funnel. All right. So once we kind of figured out who are we going to sell to, we do want to make sure that the programs, the services that we're selling align to that marketing, that market that we're targeting. And I just kind of want to bring this graphic back up just as a reminder that who you're going to be targeting is really going to determine what you are going to be sell them. So again, if you are targeting the traditional managed services customer, no internal IT, they need your help. They're outsourcing their IT management to you. That's the traditional managed services customer. There's going to be, you know, a type of program that you're going to be selling towards them. Or if you decide that through your ICP, no, I like dealing with internal IT. I like partnering with them and seeing where my team can help them. I don't want to be 100% responsible for the care, protection, security, management of their network. Well, then that's co-managed, and that's an entirely different model. And again, whether you're doing traditional, whether you're doing a co-managed, two different, again, customer segmentation models, two very different sales conversations, therefore warrants two very different marketing messages. And if you don't have your programs, your service offerings fully fleshed out yet, we're not going to be talking about that today, but I do have a lot of training, boot camps, blogs on that topic to help you with that. Two specific resources I want to draw your attention to is two playbooks that I've written. The first is my brand new Selling Security Playbook. This really focuses on how to build, price, market, and sell security programs, but to your more traditional managed services customers. And I have a QR code there that you can go to the enable.com site and download a copy of it. The second one is my co-managed digital playbook, and it reviews how do you know, what are the top co-managed service offerings we're seeing MSPs take to market, and then, you know, how do you market and sell to them. So I don't have a QR code for that one. I'm in the middle of updating it to version 4. At that point, I'll get a QR code for it. It will be downloadable, but I did add it in as a handout. If you're not able to access it, just let me know. Just type co-managed playbook in the question panel and I'll get that over to you. But accompanying these playbooks are also boot camps that you can find on Enable U. Okay. Strategy 3, we have to pay attention to our messaging and how we're phrasing things. So what we want to make sure is that we are, as fluffy as it may sound as I say this, you need to make sure that you have properly completely defined your company's vision and mission statements. And so when we're looking at a company's vision statement, these are aspirational. These are based on your organization's longer term goals and objectives. vision statements are appropriately named visionary, while a mission statement, this is really seen as your roadmap of how your business is going to work to achieve that vision that you've set for yourself. So a mission statement defines the core purpose of your organization, and it's really seen as being actionary. And then once you have your vision and mission statements defined, kind of at the company level, that's when you can begin really focusing on your messaging at a more tactical services level. And that starts with building out your value proposition statements. And your value proposition statements is really that summation of how are your services going to help solve problems and challenges that are being experienced by your target audience. And how are you going to do that better than anybody else? And again, I get MSPs that roll their eyes. It sounds like fluff, but building out your value proposition statement, please don't take it lightly. I do encourage you to spend some time really working on this and reflecting on this, because crafting a unique and compelling value proposition, it is going to help set you apart from your competitors, because this is your opportunity to really highlight and differentiate why somebody should partner with you as opposed to going to someone else. And having strong value prop statements in your marketing material, on your website, in your social, in my feeling, is one of the most important factors in converting prospects into customers, or at least getting a prospect who has landed on your webpage to reach out. Yet there's a survey by QuickSprout, they're a marketing company. They found that 54% of companies not really doing anything to optimize their value prop statements. They're just writing something, throwing it up on their website, something fluffy, so it's poorly written, poorly defined, it's vague. And that can actually cause you to lose prospects and kill any sales opportunities they might have had, because if you have someone landing on your website, good job, because that's hard. Getting traffic to your website is hard. And then if you finally get them and there's nothing there to keep them there, because what their initial first impression is something that's fluffy and generic and doesn't mean anything, is probably going to cause them to hit the back button and go look at somebody else. And so when it comes to how do you write a good value proposition statement, I have kind of we call it the value matrix. So I've kind of broken this down into like an equation type of format, but it first involves kind of taking a pain point or a challenge being experienced by your target customer. I like to call this like the purchasing trigger, like what's causing the prospect to be, I'm done. They're ready to move on from whoever they're using today as an MSP, and they're now ready to start seeing what their options are. So whatever that purchasing trigger is, then we want to pair that pain point or that purchasing trigger with a key benefit that your managed security services can provide, which is then going to translate into a positive outcome for that organization, and where your goal is to put that organization in a much better position than what they may have been in previously before engaging in your services. And so, kind of putting this all into context, when you talk about how your MSP can help solve prospects' problems, another important thing we want to make sure that we're doing, with our messaging is that we are using terms and speaking in a language that resonates with who we're targeting. And, so that's one of the reasons why maybe going more verticalized, going more niche in certain industries is going to be helpful, because if you can, every industry has their own language, they have their own terminology. And if you can get dialed into that, your marketing success, your sales success is going to improve. And so when you're crafting your value prop statements, we want to spend some time thinking about, if we're targeting a CEO or we're targeting a CFO, or maybe we're targeting someone in IT leadership, we really want to think about what do they care about most, and thinking about, what issues are keeping them up at night. And that is how we want to create our marketing messages and pinpoint, hone in on those items. And so you want your marketing messaging, if we're targeting CEOs or if we're targeting CFOs, we want to make sure that we're talking about how can your MSP make their business more competitive? How can your MSP help make their business more profitable? How can your MSP help keep their employees safe and secure and productive? How can your MSP help make them more operationally efficient in order to help them control their costs? That's what CEOs, that's what CFOs care about. And if your messaging can speak to that, you're going to get some engagement there. And then thinking about from an IT leadership standpoint, what do IT leaders care about? Director of technology or VP of technology or IT admins, if we're trying to promote our co-managed services to them. So in our marketing message to these types of individuals, we want to highlight how our MSP can help them successfully complete important IT projects and get them completed in a timely manner. We want to talk about how your MSP is, can help them efficiently handle, maybe a lot of those mundane day-to-day tasks, but they're needed in order to have a carefully, properly secured and protected network. Talk about how your MSP can create and maintain a reliable and dependable network environment, to keep the employees productive and working. How your MSPs can help keep the employee morale high and give them a good work-life balance, because maybe it's an internal IT department, they only have a couple of people and they're doing all sorts of things and they're not able to get everything done. And so they're working around the clock. They can't take holidays. They can't, their weekends are being hijacked. You can come in and say, look, we can handle the overflow. We can handle the weekends. We can handle the holidays. We can handle, any other time, because we have a great help desk. Maybe that's one of the services that you're pitching. And then from a security perspective as well, talk about how your MSP can partner with them to help mitigate their risk exposure and to keep their critical business data safe and secure. Now, again, if you can't answer these questions in a very comprehensive manner, then that's really where go speak to your existing customers, leverage their experiences, their knowledge, and I don't want to say exploit, but really leverage that relationship that you have with them to get answers to these types of questions, because that's what you're going to want to use to attract like-minded businesses like that. Okay. So strategy number 4, and I talk about this probably on a weekly basis, making sure that you have all of your marketing fundamentals in place first, because we have to have those in place if we do want to generate awareness and interest in our MSP. Because if we don't have these marketing fundamentals in place first, then no one is going to know that you exist or understand what you can offer. And if you don't have anybody that knows that you're out there, lead gen is going to be a problem, and it is going to be difficult to book meetings with prospects. So what do I mean about that? Ensuring that you have the marketing fundamentals in place first. And so we're going to spend a big chunk of the remaining part of our boot camp going through these 9 points here. And these are the 9 points to consider as you're developing your marketing strategy, but more importantly, your digital marketing strategy. Because again, our goal is we want to make sure and improve our chances that your MSP can be found online by prospects who might be fed up with whoever they're using today, and they're now looking for a new MSP to potentially partner with. And so we're going to go through each of these 9 items in more detail. And like I said, it's going to take up the lion's share of the rest of the boot camp. So step number 1, before you put any marketing plan together, before you do any campaigns, before you hire an SDR and you throw them onto the phones, Google yourself. See how easy it is for an average non-technical business owner, if we're promoting our traditional managed services offering, how easy it is for a non-technical business owner to find you. If they can't find you, then your first big task of your marketing plan is to figure out why and to get that fixed. And that becomes kind of your number 1 priority before everything else that you're thinking of. Because according to Gartner, 70% of a prospect's buying decision, it's made before they even reach out to talk to you. And so another question I always ask, an MSP who, I'm talking to them, they're struggling with lead gen. I ask them, well, what are you doing to get yourself noticed, out in the digital world? What are you doing to help attract leads to your website? What sort of activities are you doing to help get yourself found or even discovered online. And the one thing that I do in preparation for those calls is I try to Google them. I put myself in the position that I'm an average non-technical business owner. I'm fed up with the MSP that I'm using today. And so I want to see what my options are, and I want to see who else is out there. And so many times, so before the meeting, what I'll do is I will Google, computer IT support company in X city or X state. And many times that struggling MSP that I'm about to meet with, they don't appear anywhere. And I've even gone as far as all the way to page 17 in some cases, just to see if they pop up in Google's feed. And a prospect's not going to do that. A prospect, if you're lucky, they'll maybe go to page 2. They won't go much further beyond page 2 if they're trying to assemble a list of MSPs in their area that they may want to consider vetting and going with. And so that's a significant issue. If you can't be found online when someone does a basic Google search, then that is going to dramatically hinder your lead gen success, especially if doing that organic search, they happen to find a lot of information about their competitors. So if they can find a lot of information about your competitors, but they don't find any information about you, who are they going to go to? Because that's how it works these days. If there is a business that isn't happy with their MSP for whatever reason, one of their first steps is they're going to start looking online, and they're going to take it to Google to see what their options are. They're going to see what kind of information they can find for themselves, starting with that organic Google search. And then from there, if they like what they read, they'll go to your website. And if they like what they read there and like what they see, then they're probably going to go check out your LinkedIn or your Facebook. So they're then going to want to see what other good, happy clients are saying about you. And that is the information that they're using to vet for themselves. Are you credible enough? Are you trustworthy enough to motivate me to reach out to you? Now, in the interest of time, I can't go through, all the mechanics of search engine optimization. I am by no means an SEO expert, but we do have a great resource with our Market Builder platform. Within Market Builder, we did a webinar a little while ago with an SEO expert, and it talked about how to get Google to send you qualified leads daily that doesn't involve you spending a dime, right? And good SEO doesn't involve having you to do pay-per-click. And I would really encourage you to don't DIY this, to spend the money to hire an SEO expert who can help you with this, because an SEO expert, they live and breathe it, right? Like they're the ones that, are staying up to date on Google's algorithms, how it works, when Google makes changes to the algorithms. And so I really do believe that their value is worth their weight in gold. But to help you get started, I encourage you to check out that webinar. Raj offers some great free advice on things that you can do to help with your SEO optimization that won't cost you a thing, except your time, right? But I think it's a good foundational piece to get going. Also, what I have done, and it's in the handout section, is I have created kind of a quick cheat sheet based on, certain strategies that you can use to help Google find you and help, hopefully move you closer to page 1. And so again, nothing pretty, it's just an Excel spreadsheet. I was kind of using it to document all my notes, and I thought, well, why not make this available to everybody? So screenshot there, but you can download it from the handout section. And then also I have a variety of different blog posts that I've written as well. If you ever, go to enable.com, under resources, we have our blogs there, the head nerds, and you can just filter on myself. So again, good foundational knowledge. But at the end of the day, if you can't be found online, maybe invest, some of your marketing budget in working with an SEO expert to help with that. Okay. The second step is to complete an honest review of your website. And I think this is probably the second most important piece of advice that I can give that will make a lot of difference between a prospect reaching out and engaging with you versus them clicking on the back button to go back to Google and continue their search. And so you want to make sure that your website is the very best that it can be. A lot of marketing experts, any books that you read, they will say that your website is probably the most important asset that you have from a lead gen perspective, but it's often the asset that's the most overlooked. And as such, as I was mentioning a little bit before with the messaging, don't make it fluffy, because that could potentially be harming your MSP sales success instead of helping it. And again, when I'm dealing with struggling MSPs, one of the things that I do ask after SEO, if I can't find them, is I go to their website and I'll say, oh, it looks like your website's a little dated. And they will fully admit it. They'll say, yeah, our website, we need to do a refresh. We need to do some work on it. We know that. It's on our to-do list for this year. So if you're kind of saying, you know, in your mind, the same thing, yes, we need to do work to our website. It's on our plan later on this year. I do really encourage you to move the website revamp to the very top of your to-do list. Like, get the SEO fixed, or maybe even work on your website first and then work on your SEO, because it is that critical of a marketing task that has to get done sooner rather than later. Because again, always going back and thinking about the buying journey of a potential prospect, or even if thinking about how you purchase things in your own personal world, right? Most people will go visit a company's website first, or the first couple of steps, when they're in the middle of a buying decision. And think about how you react if you don't like what you see from a company's website, or how you react if a company's website's not really grabbing you, right? Like, I know if I'm researching a new business, I go to their website. If it doesn't immediately grab my attention or give me a good first impression, I move on. And unfortunately, I think a lot of prospects will too, especially if they have, several different MSPs in their Google search list that they're investigating. And so if your website does appear a little bit tired, a little bit outdated, especially if it has old blog posts or old articles or career posts from 8 months ago, that's sending a signal that your website has been forgotten about. And that could be a turnoff to prospects who are vetting you and comparing you to other MSPs in their decision-making process. So, if visitors see outdated, tired-looking websites, they're quickly going to come to that conclusion that if you can't be bothered to keep your website up to date, then maybe that's a reflection of how you manage your business as a whole. And they may make that snap decision that you may not be the right MSP for them, and then kind of hit that back button and continue on their search. And just so some stats to kind of back this up, 75% of users admit to making snap judgments, I'm one of them, about a company's credibility based purely on how their website looks and functions. And it only takes about half a second for users to kind of form that opinion about whether they're going to stay on your website or not, or leave. And again, to get someone on your website is a huge amount of work. And if they're there, you don't want to waste your opportunity. And especially if you are a smaller MSP, you can really think of your website as being that 24/7 by 365 salesperson for your MSP. And that's especially critical if you don't have any sales or marketing resources yet. Like, the website is all we have right now to help fill that funnel beyond what word of mouth and referrals can do. So step 2 of the marketing fundamentals is really conduct that honest review of your website. If you feel that your website is not helping in your sales efforts, if it's not generating any leads for your MSP, then that could be a pretty strong signal that it's time for a refresh. And don't put it on the we'll get to it eventually, but please, move it to the top of your priority list. And again, in the interest of time, gosh, can't go through the do's and don'ts of website design. But again, we have some more resources for you. I actually did an office hours on this a little while ago on common mistakes to avoid when creating your website, and it is 100% focused on website design and improvements. I co-presented that with Mark Coatman. He's an industry expert. He's director of Wingman MSP marketing. I also, again, wrote some blogs on this as well that you can read up on here. But, kind of the point is, if you do recognize that you fall into the camp of, our website can use some work, let's make this a priority. And then for anyone that maybe if you're attending Empower in Berlin this April, I actually am going to be holding a 2-day sales and marketing track for attendees, and I have a specific track, a specific session designated to website best practices. And I'm actually going to be moderating this with Mark from Wingman MSP again. And so if you're going, thank you, but maybe you're going, but you haven't thought about bringing your sales or marketing executives along with you, maybe reconsider, because Empower is more than just tech, right? Yes, we're going to be talking about our roadmaps and stuff like that, but I'll be there as well. And I'm going to be delivering a pre-day boot camp on how do you build and sell cybersecurity programs for your MSP with a bunch of MSSPs who are very successful and some industry experts. And then I am going to be leading a 2-day sales and marketing track really designed to tackle MSP's top sales and marketing challenges. Again, it'll be a panel bringing in top MSPs who have experienced tremendous growth, and they are generously offering their guidance and insights on what has worked well for them. So again, if you are interested in Empower, I think we did have a promo going on. You have to go check it out. I'm not sure if it ended yesterday or today, but, or any questions, just let me know. And I can talk about Empower all day long because I've been to all of them. All right, so step 3 when we're looking at the marketing fundamentals is reviewing how your LinkedIn profile looks and how your company LinkedIn profile looks. Because just like your website, if your prospect is thinking about reaching out and engaging with you, they're going to look at your website first, to kind of see how it looks. Do they like what they see? Do they like what their about page looks like? And then they're likely going to go check out your LinkedIn page to see if they can find out more about you and your company. It could be vice versa. I get that. They may, see something that you've posted onto LinkedIn, like what they see there, and they're going to want to go check out your website. So it could be, either or. So if you're not doing anything from a marketing perspective today, if you are admitted, thank you for those that admitted that it's kind of ad hoc, you're not really doing anything, then the 3 top things is get your website sorted, get your SEO sorted, and then start using and becoming active on LinkedIn. Make that a marketing priority. And so when you're looking at your LinkedIn profile, doing an honest assessment of, are you even on LinkedIn? Because, I'm shocked at, MSPs that attend my boot camps, they're attending my office hours. I go to reach out to them on LinkedIn, I go to find them and they're not there. Or if I do find them, there's nothing really showy about their LinkedIn profile. Their LinkedIn profile is actually very poorly put together. So looking at your profile, you want to make sure that it's complete, it's up to date, has accurate information, that when you look at the different profile sections that they're filled out as completely as they can be and to the best of your ability. You want to make sure that you are adding employment history, adding any awards that you've won, if you're doing any speaking engagements or articles or blog posts that you've written, you can make all those features as part of your profile, because what you want to do with your profile is you really want to make yourself shine, from that professional standpoint. Also, looking at your profile picture, what does that look like, right? Critically important. Are you using a professional photo headshot that you have taken, or are you using an old photo of yourself where it's clearly evident you've kind of cropped yourself out of a group photo? Because again, just like we want quality clients, we also have to put forth quality as well. And so if you do recognize that your LinkedIn, maybe you're not on it, or if you are on it, it could use a freshen up. Make that another priority on your marketing plan, because I've seen so many poor LinkedIn profiles. It's a very easy thing to fix with just a little bit of time devoted to it. It's probably the easiest out of the 3 that I've talked about so far. And so let's talk a little bit about how can you make a good first impression? How can you optimize your LinkedIn profile to accomplish that? Because when it is done well, it's going to be your profile that can actually help differentiate yourself and make yourself stand out from other MSP competitors that your prospect might be vetting at the moment. And so you're going to do this by paying close attention to what we call the trifecta of your LinkedIn profile. Looking at, what does your cover banner look like? What does your head shot look like? What does your headline look like? And I'm showing two examples here of real life LinkedIn profiles. On the right, I'm showing what I consider to be a well thought out, well constructed LinkedIn profile. If anybody has been to Empowers in the past, you would recognize Ted. Ted and his wife Stefanie are owners of PCA Technology Solutions in Little Rock, Arkansas. They have been partners of ours since 2005. And then Ted actually took over, Ted and Stefanie actually took over the ownership of PCA probably 10 years ago now. On the left, I'm showing my husband's LinkedIn profile. Again, if you attend my boot camps, I talk a lot about how successful my husband is in sales. I really do feel he is that unicorn when it comes to sales because he makes it look so effortless. But looking at his LinkedIn profile, you would never know that. So he's kind enough to let me pick on him when I go through, when I do this boot camp. And so when we talk about that trifecta, we want to use these three elements to tell a story about who you are, what you do, and what you have to offer to prospective buyers. And so comparing both profiles, if we look at Ted's on the right, you can see that he has spent considerable time crafting his LinkedIn profile, making sure that it appears professional, that it helps him stand out. And we learn a lot about what he does and what he stands for. And, just by starting to look at his cover banner, obviously he has his company name in there. He has his website address, his logo, but I love his tagline, your technology coach. Because his target audience are those businesses that might feel uncertain about the complexities of IT and would therefore be looking to partner with a company who can provide the right guidance and advice and will help them make the most informed choices with respect to IT and their IT spending. Whereas you look at my husband's profile, there's nothing there. It's actually just the default LinkedIn one that you get when you first set up your account. And then you look at Ted's headshot that he uses. It's actually a talking headshot. They have those now. But his headshot, if you see, it's a professional photo. And Ted actually makes a point to regularly get updated professional photos taken, as opposed to, getting someone to take one from his phone or a group picture again, where, he's just kind of cropped himself out. Where if you look at my husband's profile pic, you don't know which one of those guys is my husband. Too far away, there's multiple people in it. And this picture, because I know it, is actually probably 23 years old. And this was actually taken when he was, before he got into sales, and he was just a young tech working on the help desk for one of his initial companies that he started when he got out of college. And then when you look at Ted's headline, so much good content there that truly gives you a really good overview picture of what type of person Ted is. And your headline, it's more than just your job title. Your headline should really capture what you do and outline why people should follow you or want to connect with you. We can put in our headline, certain keywords, because that's going to help with your SEO optimization, especially if we have the right set of keywords as part of our headline. You can see that Ted's headline does that. Not only does his headline contain appropriate keywords from an SEO perspective, he does a really good job of creating that emotional connection with his followers. And he compels you to want to follow him, via his positivity and his credentials. And you can see that's evident because, well, this is probably a year or two old now, but at the time he had almost, over 7,800 followers. And I know it's more now. And that's what you want in a technology coach. And that's really the trick when it comes to selling managed services in general, because he does a really good job of keeping in mind who his audience is. They are non-technical business owners who don't know a lot about technology. They don't live in your world. So Ted promotes himself as being that technology coach, as being that technology advisor. We will help you sort through the complexity of the IT world. And so when deciding to choose a new MSP provider, prospects aren't going to be necessarily interested in hearing about all the technical services. Your laundry list of services that you offer, they may not be interested in that because they're not going to understand a lot of it. But they're going to choose a new MSP most likely based on how they feel about the person that they're engaged with. And of course, you have to be technologically skilled to deliver on your commitments. But when you think about your non-technical business owner, we're assuming that any MSP that I'm going to speak to is going to have the same technical capabilities. I'm just assuming you guys all know how to fix computers. I don't really know anything differently, but what they're going to be looking for is, what is my proposed, new MSP that I'm looking at? How do they make that personal connection with me? Yes, I understand you're going to manage my computers, but what can I expect out of that relationship? And I don't know you, I'm not ready to reach out to you, but what kind of feeling am I getting just from your online presence? And if you can really give a good thought to that and work on that, that's going to help you win the client over in the end. And then looking at his headline, again, things that he's included in there: people are my passion, technology is my platform. He lets you know that he's a cybersecurity expert, he's a technology expert, he's an MSSP expert, VoIP, but also to help cement his status and bolster his authority and credibility, he promotes that he's an expert guest commentator on some readily recognizable radio shows there. And I think the last thing that I really like about what Ted does is he has this personal mantra. If you go and look at his feed, it's #GoWinTheDay. And this is just part of the personal brand that he's been developing over the last several years. And you'll see that it's kind of that common thread that's woven through every post that he does on social. Whereas if you look at my husband's, there's nothing there. There's no headline crafted. He just says, I'm an account executive at Bearcom Canada, and that's pretty much it. Now, my husband's not an MSP. He doesn't work for an MSP, but I have seen too many MSP profiles on LinkedIn that look more or less just like my husband's. And so if, again, non-technical business owner, if I'm looking for a new MSP in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I saw Ted's profile, and then I saw Mark's because they both showed up in my online Google search, and I'm doing my research, whose profile do you think is going to make a better impression on me and is going to want me to maybe reach out and connect and at least maybe follow them? And so again, just from this little bit of knowledge, this little bit of what I'm seeing online, I have a much better sense of who Ted is and what he offers and what he stands for, versus Mark, where I don't know anything about Mark. I don't know anything about his business. There's nothing here that's really going to encourage me to want to reach out or connect with him on a deeper level. Compared to Ted, there's really nothing distinguishable about Mark. There's nothing in his profile to let me know that he too is incredibly successful in his space. Because again, first impressions, I don't know anything. And so I, not to pick on my husband, but I wanted to do this side-by-side comparison just to showcase how important first impressions are when it comes to lead gen. People are going to make snap judgments when it comes to your websites, when it comes to your LinkedIn profile. They're going to make snap judgments about your competencies, your capabilities, your skill sets, just based on what they're seeing or what they're not seeing. And 80% of viewers they're going to connect with you because of what you've done online to optimize, what we call this trifecta. Now, just to give my husband some love back, after I went through this with him, he immediately went and updated his profile. And he didn't spend a lot of time on this. I think he spent about 10 minutes, but you can see with just 10 minutes worth of effort, what it looks like now versus what it looked like before. So, if you're looking for some quick wins here, this is a very quick win, just getting your profile and all the pieces in it up to date. And if you're looking for additional information on this, there's a really good book. I don't get paid for endorsing her. I just love the material she puts out there. Her name is Sam Rathling. She has several books on how to use LinkedIn from a social selling perspective, how you can use LinkedIn from a lead gen perspective. And it's a very easy read. Cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, you'll get through it. But some really good nuggets there. And then you can also follow her online. She gives some really good guidance that way. Her online LinkedIn is a little bit shallow right now, only because she's going through cancer treatments. So she's not as active on LinkedIn as she used to be, but you can definitely go back through previous posts and you'll see a lot of the good information that she gives there. All right. Activity number 4, from a marketing fundamentals standpoint that you really should work on is making sure that your Google business profile, going and looking at that and making sure that is up to date. And just like LinkedIn, do you have a LinkedIn profile? Do you have your Google business profile established? And if you do, is it complete and up to date with accurate information, and making sure that it's consistent with what's appearing on your website? Because you wouldn't believe how this little piece of inconsistency can hamper your ability to be found online. And for one MSP that I was trying to find, again, he was frustrated with lack of marketing, lack of sales, lack of lead gen. He wasn't, no leads were finding them. They were touting themselves as these cybersecurity experts, and they were compliance experts. That's really what their expertise was around. And I tried to find them on Google, doing organic Google search, security services in their area. Could not find them. This is the one where I went all the way to page 17, could not find them. And then when I just typed in their company name, obviously they came up. But then when I checked on their Google business profile, in their profile, they had themselves listed as an electronics supply store. Very different from cybersecurity and compliance experts. And so when I brought this up with them that, that's going to have a hamper on your lead gen, their answer was that they used to do that, but it's only a small part of their business now. But because they had neglected to update their Google business profile, that really hampered the lead gen that they were experiencing. They neglected that piece when they did their MSP relaunch. And so, if you try and Google yourself and you are not appearing on the first couple of pages of Google, compare those successful profiles and those successful MSP websites, those top ranking profiles, compare how it looks to yours. Like if you're doing kind of a side-by-side, like I just did for the LinkedIn, are you missing key details that are missing in yours, but maybe are present in your competitors? When you look at their profile, is their profile more complete than yours? Because the more complete your profile is, the higher the ranking that you're going to achieve, unless you have poor reviews. And then speaking of reviews, do you work to continually increase the number of Google reviews that are showing on your profile? Reviews are very, very important when it comes to building an inbound digital marketing strategy. When investigating something or someone or a company that you don't know, our natural instinct is to then check out the reviews and go to that section, because we want to see what other people are saying, and we want to hear what other people are saying and what their experiences have been. So it's very important to have reviews to, so your prospects who are checking you out, they're not taking your word for it. They want to hear what other people are saying about you. And so do you make a point to go and check your reviews, and do you acknowledge them, even the poor ones? Because when you respond to your customer reviews, all of them, you're letting new potential reviewers know that you do listen to customer feedback and it is worth their time to write a review. Because how frustrating is it, we go and write a review and then we don't get any feedback from the company back on that. And responding to reviews will actually help you get more, help move you closer to page one. It is one of those things that helps move the needle for Google. And for positive reviews, we want to make sure that we are responding, well, positive or negative, that we're responding in a timely manner. Be specific. Just don't put a general, RoboCop response there, but be specific, timely, grateful in your responses. And then negative reviews, we might get some negative reviews. There might be some trolls out there, but we want to respond back to those as well. Because when people are investigating you, they see the positive reviews, they see the negative reviews, but if they see a negative review, and I know I feel this way, if I see a negative review, but I see that the company acknowledged it and is working to work with that reviewer, that goes a long way in helping to build the credibility. Because no one's expecting 5 out of 5, but if there is that negative review there and it is a legit review, we want to see how was it dealt with, because that is what builds credibility and authority. And then marketing fundamental number 5, if you do notice that your Google reviews are a little light, or maybe it's been a few years since you last had a review posted by a customer, then as part of your marketing fundamentals checklist, start a campaign to solicit more Google reviews. Because again, what customers have to say about your business carries a lot more weight than what you have to say about your business. You can do all the marketing in the world, you can have all the great value prop statements in the world, but prospects are going to want to hear what other companies are saying about you, no matter how great all that messaging is. More reviews will help generate more leads. 88% of people trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So doing what you can to build up your reviews builds up the likelihood that a Google searcher will engage with your business upon finding it. Because again, they're looking at their list from their organic search. If they're looking at a couple of MSPs and this MSP has no reviews, like, doesn't bode very well. But if I see an MSP that has 20, 30, 40 reviews and they're consistent, I'm going to reach out to them, because obviously they have great customer relationships and customer service, or else why wouldn't their customers post a review in the first place? And Google actually rewards businesses that have frequent and positive reviews. It's definitely a really good, solid SEO ranking factor, focusing on your reviews. And you can never have too many reviews, but you do want your reviews to be as recent as possible. And so if you have been in the business for any length of time, hopefully you have a bunch of customers that would be thrilled to write a review for you. But again, I think MSPs are getting better, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of MSPs that don't really make the reviews a priority for their business like they should. Especially when I have an MSP tell me, oh, Steph, we've been in business for 25 years. We have 500 clients. Our customers love us. And then I go and check out their website. I go and check out their Google business profile, and there's nothing there. It's quite astonishing. So what I always recommend, and maybe, this will be more of a step 1, but it is part of the fundamentals of marketing that should be taken care of first, before launching any campaigns, before, you put your SDR, and you hire them and put them on the phones, you want to make sure that, besides the website, beside the SEO, beside the LinkedIn, that you're also doing what you can to reach out to your customers and ask them if they can take a moment to write a review for you. And do what you can to make it easy for them, either create a link or create a QR code, post it to your website, have it as a clear call to action, just asking them to leave a review. I have MSPs that will tell me we build this into our quarterly business review meetings that we have. If the meeting went well, this is where we kind of ask them, can you write a review for us? We'd really appreciate it. You could run a Google review campaign, send out an email asking your customers to leave a review. 80–90% of the time, your customers will write a review if you ask them. I know if I've dealt with a client or a business, I purchased something from them, it was a great experience. I get that email from them saying, hey, would you mind leaving a review? Of course I'll leave a review. I may not remember in the moment, but if you send me a follow-up email saying, thank you for your business, would you mind writing a review? More often than not, because they've asked and they've brought it to the top of my mind, yeah, I'll leave a review. So build an email campaign around that. You can ask for reviews on social media. Post a screenshot of your very best review on LinkedIn and ask your customers to leave their own feedback. And again, you can put, whether your shortcut link or your QR code in there. Also, take a look at your help desk tickets. Take a look at your chat transcripts. See what positive things your customers are saying about your text and your MSP, and then have someone reach out to those customers and ask them, we saw that you wrote these really nice things about our help desk tech the other day. I'm glad that we were able to help solve your problem in a timely manner. Would you mind posting something on Google for us about that? We'd really appreciate that. Doesn't hurt to reach out and ask. Also, have everyone in your company add a link or a review button or something along that lines to their email signature, soliciting reviews. You think about the number of emails we send in a day. I feel like I send 500 emails a day sometimes. You can add something to your email signature, just something simple like, have we helped you? Help others to find us by leaving a Google review, type of thing, and then put your QR code or your little link there. And I know the question has been asked of me before, yeah, Steph, if I do run this Google review campaign to bolster the number of reviews that I get, is there a limit to how many I can, collect before Google penalizes me? No, there doesn't really seem to be a way why Google is going to penalize you. It doesn't seem they're setting a limit to you collecting a certain number of reviews per day or per week. But again, you also don't want to hit some huge number right off the bat either. What you do want to do is design kind of a process for a consistent collecting of reviews so that you can pace the increase of the reviews you receive so that we're not drawing attention to Google. So you want to create that process to have that steady stream of reviews. You're collecting it over time and make it a process that you can sufficiently maintain. Again, we don't want to go out and collect a whole bunch of reviews because we've done a campaign and then stop and then allow all those reviews to go dormant and then have those reviews age out. Google will ding you for that. But if you can go and can we get 1 review a week, 2 review a week, something very manageable, and then keep focusing on maintaining that pace, that is going to really help, move the needle and getting you closer to page 1 when it comes to your search ranking. All right, so let's just take a 5-minute break, stretch our legs, grab a drink. So right now we've gone through 5 of the 8 kind of marketing fundamentals that I really feel every MSP should put in place before they start everything else. So after the break, we're going to come back and finish the final 3 elements of the marketing fundamentals piece. And then we're going to get into the final 3 strategies outside of digital marketing that MSPs have found really useful to help them attract more qualified leads into their sales funnel and to help fill their pipeline. So I have it as 2:24, 2:25 Eastern time. We'll just take a 5-minute break and then we'll come and finish off the back half of the boot camp. All right, be right back. All right, hopefully everyone grabbed a drink, stretched their legs. So yeah, let's finish off the back half of this boot camp. So again, when we're talking about the marketing fundamentals, making sure that we have those in place first. Number 6 is all about doing what you can to build your social strategy. So this is after doing all those, the first 5. Then we can really start thinking about what's our social strategy going to be. And this is the goal of this is we want to incrementally build our virtual social audiences and doing it in a way that we're doing it every day. Because especially over the last 5 years or so, especially since the pandemic, we've seen that shift in the buyer's journey and how buyers are making the purchasing decisions where they're doing everything online, right? Starting with Google to see their options and then moving from there, looking at websites, looking at reviews, looking at companies' social fees, that type of thing. Because again, by the time someone reaches out to you, they're almost 70% of the way there of deciding whether they're going to go with you or not. because of all the research that they've been able to do online by themselves. And so, not to say that salespeople aren't critical anymore in the overall sales process as they once were, but because of this rise of good quality information, now it's information overload a lot of times, but good quality information, good quality content that prospective buyers can source for themselves from the web, salespeople aren't as needed anymore, and just drives home the fact that if your MSP is not online, then potential business owners aren't going to be able to find you, and they will end up going to their competitors who they are finding information about online instead of going with you. And some, just some social media stats there, found that 90% of marketers say that their social efforts have increased exposure to their business, and 75% of them have said that building up their social presence has increased traffic to their website. And that's really one of the biggest benefits we want out of social media, is driving visitors to our website so they can find out more about your organization. And then it's your website that actually starts the conversation and motivates them to reach out and contact you for that live engagement, engaging that salesperson. And so again, that's why I keep stressing how important it is to ensure that your website is up to date, that it's modern. Make sure that's number one before starting any of these other marketing strategies. Because if you start doing all this social, but your website still could use some work, you're turning those prospects off that you've been driving to your website. So that's why I always say, work on your website, work on your SEO first, so that as you are starting to do social media, email media that we're going to be talking about next, and companies go and look at your website, they have something really quality there that they can look at. And one of the questions I always get to ask is, well, what platform should I be on, Steph? When it comes to social, should I be on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok? And really the answer I always give is, just be where your clients are or where your prospects are. For B2B selling, consensus is that's LinkedIn. It is the best platform to be active on and to use if you're trying to build up your audience of business owners, because that's our target market. Because if you think about LinkedIn, it is basically the most up-to-date, publicly accessible database that's out there, and it pretty much contains any lead you could ever want to speak to. But it just takes some time to learn how to navigate it and how to leverage it and how to get it working for you. And that's why if you're not active on LinkedIn or social today, read Sam's books. She has, I think, 3 of them out now, and it will give you a really good starting point on how to get going on that. And then as you begin to engage more on LinkedIn, this is where you do want to create kind of that dream list of businesses, based on your ICP, that you would love to have as clients someday. And then once you have that list built, work on just being active on LinkedIn. Set aside time every day to build up your connections, build up your social presence on LinkedIn. On a good day, I try to do something in the morning before I start and get lost in my day. And then I like to do something just before I'm done, just to kind of wind down. So I try and get a couple of posts out. Doesn't always work, but that's kind of my posting goal. And that's how I try to be active. Active also means that besides trying to post something on LinkedIn every day, you should also be aiming to connect with people off of your dream list every day as well. If it's just a couple of people, couple of businesses from your dream list, that you're working to connect with them. You should also be spending time sharing, commenting, and engaging in articles and posts that have been posted by other people and customers in your network, because you don't want to be a lurker. You don't want to be caught just on transmit only. The idea here is to be social, right? To not just keep posting stuff, but it's almost as important or just as important to make sure that you're commenting and sharing what other people are saying as well. Because the goal of all of this is about building virtual relationships and building virtual audiences of business owners who are listening to you, they're using your content, they're engaging with your content, and by them doing that, that's elevating your level of authority and credibility in your connection base. Because that's the way LinkedIn works now. It's very content driven. It is really all about the content now, and the LinkedIn algorithm is impacted either negatively or positively by what you post and how well it is received. And then how LinkedIn treats the algorithm is going to impact who in your network sees your material, which is critical if you're trying to grow your connection base via LinkedIn. And just as an example, I just saw this happen to myself over the last couple of weeks. When you post a piece of content to LinkedIn, how it works is LinkedIn will show that piece of content to a sample set of your overall audience. And then if your audience jumps on it, they start liking it, sharing it, commenting on it, what it does is it tells the algorithm that this is a popular piece of content that you've posted. And so it will then show your content to more and more people. And that's how you work to grow your audience, because as people like, share, comment on the content that you've posted, that network of views is going to grow, where hopefully it will reach those who may not know who you are, but they may want to learn more about what you do. And so they'll likely then head over, well, check out your website, check out your LinkedIn profile to see who and what you're all about. And as I said, I just kind of experienced this really for, well, lots, but probably the biggest impact that I've had in terms of content that I've posted onto social was just in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to be launching a book club next month. It's a sales and marketing book club, where we are going to be reviewing top marketing and lead gen books, all designed to help MSPs get better at lead gen in 2025. So just before Christmas, I recorded a video talking about my book club. I posted it to LinkedIn. And that post alone is probably my highest producing post. That video, when I checked it last week, had reached almost 2,000 connection. It had been reviewed, I think 1,700 times, my little video, and it had so many different reactions and comments to it. And because of that, I've seen my book club registrations significantly increase because of that, which has been what I want. I want to get registrants, I want to get participants for my book club. But it all started because a few people in my network liked, commented, reposted my little video, to their feeds. And then LinkedIn saw this happening and then went and made my post more visible to other people's feeds. And the exposure and the awareness just grew from there. And so business owners have, if anybody listens to Paul Green, Green's MSPmarketing.com, fantastic resource there. Paul calls, business owners have this initial inertia loyalty, where business owners would rather deal with the devil they know and put up with subpar client experiences from their existing MSP versus dealing with the devil that they don't, which is you, right? And going out on that limb, taking a risk, moving their contract altogether over to another MSP that they really don't know. And so by continually posting relevant content onto social media, targeting your desired audience, the goal here is that, we're not using social to sell. It is not for selling purposes, but the goal is to continually educate, provide good content so that you remain top of mind with your prospects and that they begin seeing you as an expert and that viable alternative for when there's some sort of trigger event, the MS or the business owner decides that they've had enough, whoever they're using today, and they're finally looking to make a switch and they're looking to replace the incumbent with someone new. So if you are active on LinkedIn, you've engaged, connected with those business owners that you would like to have as clients, we're not selling them, we're just providing ongoing good content. When the time comes that they're ready to make a switch, you're going to be already known to them. They're already going to be familiar with your MSP. Now, again, you might be thinking that, wow, this, again, a lot of work, Steph. It is. It is going to, we're playing a long game here, right? And that's really the point. You know, it's going to take some effort to get off the ground and to maintain, but it's the idea is the time is going to pass anyways. So if you can start now, build a process now, make a commitment now to start being more active on social, it's a snowball effect, right? You're going to begin really elevating the stature of your MSP in the marketplace. And eventually, you know, as you get that system going, you're going to see new leads start flowing into the top part of your sales funnel. But at the end of the day, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It just has to be built into our marketing motion for our MSP. And then marketing fundamental number 7 really focuses on developing your email marketing strategy. And, you know, just as it sounds, email marketing is that approach where we're using email as a tool to deliver messages to your prospect base. And the idea here is that you're using it to promote your products, your services, any other information about your MSP, and we're using it to generate leads and sales for your MSP. A lot of us roll our eyes when we talk about email marketing because it is overutilized and it can be very challenging to stand out in the midst of full inboxes. But you still need to do it. It still works. There's still a lot of benefits of incorporating email marketing into your overall digital marketing plan. The big one being virtually everyone does check their email every day, several times a day. And a lot of times it is the preferred way to receive updates from brands. 73% of millennials actually prefer communications from businesses come to them via email. And I am a far ways away from being a millennial, but I agree with that. I prefer to get my information from businesses via email because I'm in my email all day long. And so these types of stats can't really be ignored. It's also very cost effective, right? You know, we don't have a large marketing budget. We get a pretty impactful return on our investment for our email campaigns that we're doing. And it is very simple to set up an email campaign and run with it, especially if you have a good email marketing platform, whether you're using Market Builder, whether you're using MailChimp, whether you're using something else. So a question I often get when I'm talking to MSPs about, okay, well, what are you doing from an email marketing perspective? Because that's a channel for lead gen. I will get the question, well, I don't have an email list today. Should I just go out and buy one, you know, from someone? And my answer is unequivocally no. You know, don't waste any of your marketing budget on buying lists because they're very ineffective. Rather, marathon versus sprint, you should be spending your time building out your own lists instead. Because if you send emails to a list of people whose contact information you bought, they're probably not going to be the right people. Those emails are going to get marked as spam, and you're likely going to get a high number of people that are going to unsubscribe. And some marketing platforms like MailChimp won't even allow you to use email lists that have been purchased. To get the highest ROI when you're building a subscriber list is you want to build it and make it all those people who want to be part of your email list. They want to receive your messages. They've opted in where they've given their permission and they have chosen to subscribe to your emails. So you've created and delivered good content that they found valuable, and so they gave you their email address because they want to continue receiving that content. So again, building a clean list will take some work, especially as you're, you know, beginning your marketing journey, but it is the right approach to take. And again, as you get going, that snowball effect will happen. Okay. And then step 8 of marketing fundamentals is this is where you do want to make sure that you have a good content marketing strategy in place. And I put this as number 8 because this is going to be the one that's going to take up, this is where it's going to take up your time, right? Because you have to create content that you're going to send out in your email. You're going to have to create content that you're going to send out and post onto social. So this is where we do want to make sure that we're building our content marketing strategy. And it's really all about creating content and distributing that content that's valuable, that's relevant, because our goal is to attract and maintain our target audience. It's educational in focus. That's really the goal of a good content marketing strategy. That is, you're delivering value, you're providing education. So any checklists, guides, books, resources, ebooks, videos, how-tos, all of those are fantastic pieces of content that your prospects are going to devour, because if they're taking it to Google, they have a problem that they're looking to solve, and they're looking to you to solve it. So if you can deliver content that helps solve their problems, there's going to be connection there. They're going to feel that you understand them, and they're going to want to reach out. And content marketing is really at the heart of your social media and email marketing strategy. And that's really what's going to drive the overall success of your MSP marketing plan that we're putting together. And that's really the biggest purpose behind marketing, right? The biggest hurdle to successful marketing is being consistent in the material that you do put out there, and developing those different channels, whether it's email, whether it's social, whether it's going out on your website, because you just never know when a business owner is going to be fed up with their existing MSP and finally be ready to entertain someone new. And marketing it's just all about having the right message at the right time, directed at the right audience. But we also have to recognize that buyers are only going to buy when they're ready to buy. And so that's why the consistency and being persistent in your marketing is really what's going to bode to your success. And content marketing is a huge component of your overall, digital marketing plan. It's a huge part of your fundamentals making you have in place. And it's a lot of times very confusing to MSPs and business owners in general, because there's just so many options to choose from when it comes to developing content. So all this slide is meant to represent is our marketing funnel, outlines, our buying journey from taking a customer from being a prospect where they don't know you at all, they've never heard of you, and how do we move them all the way through the sales funnel so they become a loyal customer at the end. And there's different versions of this marketing funnel out there, but I like this version because it breaks the funnel down into 3 main stages, and it provides that guidance as to what pieces of content work best at each stage. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, I think it's very helpful, because there is so many different options that you can use from building content, and trying to decide, well, which piece of content do I build and promote, and who am I promoting it to, can sometimes get a little hairy trying to figure that out. But it is important to build few different pieces of content, because HubSpot, marketing automation platform, huge, they say that a business owner will engage in at least 3 to 5 different pieces of content before ever reaching out to a business to engage with them in the first place. And so that's where, if you can build, educational pieces, how-to pieces, very useful pieces as a business owner. Again, I have a problem, I'm looking to solve the problem, I'm going to be, searching the web to try and find a business that can solve that problem for me. If you can create content that's focused on that, you're going to, again, make that connection. And so, again, I know there's a lot of information we just went through with this, marketing fundamentals, these 8 things to really focus on to help you get ready and prepared, and help you design what your marketing plan should be like. I just put everything into this spreadsheet here. Again, nothing fancy. Just try to document all of my thoughts in an Excel spreadsheet, but I have made that spreadsheet available that you can download and use. Again, just really meant to be kind of that checklist. And as you're going through and trying to figure out, well, why am I not getting any leads? Go through this checklist and see, well, what are you doing? And what are you doing well? What are you not doing as well? And use that to kind of help create your marketing priorities, which then can help you create your marketing plan. So just showing a screenshot here. And then, as I mentioned, I am launching a new MSP sales and marketing book club. It's starting next month in February. All the books in 2025 that we're going to be reading and reviewing are going to be centered around lead gen, marketing, prospecting, to, again, help address the fact that lead gen still continues to be the #1 business and marketing problem facing MSPs today. And so the first book that we're going to be talking about in our session in February is by Alan Dibb. It's called The One-Page Marketing Plan. It was a book that came highly recommended to me by a super elite, longtime Enable partner. I've known them for, I don't know, 10, 15 years now. And I've really seen firsthand how they have leveraged marketing and sales to help grow their MSP pretty exponentially, especially over the last 7, 8 years. They actually just opened another office in another state because they're growing. And I didn't read the book. I have Audible. I don't have time to read books. I'm about 2/3 of my way through Audible with this book, but I really like it because it does focus on the marketing fundamentals. And so I think it's a really good, appropriate book to kickstart my book club, just because of the number of requests and the frustrations that I'm hearing from MSPs about marketing doesn't seem to be working. Why am I having such a hard time filling the top part of my sales funnel? So it's a good follow-up to everything that I'm talking about today, but in a much more expanded format. And it's a very easy listening as well. I am quite enjoying it. So I have a QR code here for you to register for it. All I'm doing is repurposing my office hours. So if you're familiar with my office hours format, all I'm doing is repurposing my office hours in 2025 to kind of test the success of this. So just look for February office hours, March office hours, April office hours. Every month we're going to have a brand new book that we're going to be discussing. But that being said, if you do have a sales, marketing, program design, pricing question, still send it in, because I still want to use those office hours to address those questions as well. But for this year, my test is to make it more lead gen, NCA type of focus. And then just making sure that we are tracking how we're doing, because if we're not tracking how we're doing, how do we know what's doing well and where do we need to make improvements? So just another screenshot if you want to take around, what are some of the good KPIs? These are more benchmarking, especially if you're not doing any marketing today, where, what are you today? Put these marketing fundamentals in place that we just spoke about, and then, maybe in 6 months, 9 months at the end of the year, see what the improvements have been for that. Okay. Now, there was 8 strategies I wanted to talk about on how to fill the funnel. What we just talked about was all the marketing fundamentals piece, the kind of that checklist of things to get done first. Now I want to focus on the final 3 that are outside of digital marketing. These are kind of what I call the real life lead gen activities that you should be focusing on. But again, once you have those marketing fundamentals in place, we have to get the digital in place first. And then these are kind of some additional ones that you that are working for MSPs that already have kind of the marketing fundamentals in place, if that makes sense. So step 5 is really all about getting out there and networking, and really thinking about what are you doing to heighten your profile within your industry? What are you doing to heighten your profile within your communities that can help, bring new prospects your way? Because as much as building a life in the digital world is needed, we also have to get out there and promote ourselves in real life as well. It's all about relationship building. So looking at, are you part of your local chamber of commerce? Are you attending their meetings on a regular basis? I have MSPs that scoff when I talk about this, but it is important. Being involved in your community is very important. And being a member, an active member of your chamber of commerce is going to help with that. Are you part of any BNI networks? Again, connecting with other business owners within your community is going to be very beneficial, because it will give you an opportunity to really practice your elevator pitch, talk about what your MSP does, making them aware of what you do, what you offer. So that's really important as well. And then that community involvement, can there be a sponsorship opportunity there? Is there a board of directors that you can be a part of? Can you offer to donate your services on a goodwill aspect to, maybe some charitable organizations, that type of thing. And to reinforce how important it is to get out there and network, we have another super elite partner who this is all he focuses on, and this is what he's focused on with his sales team for probably the better part of 2 decades. He feels so strongly about this notion of networking. Now, he has all his marketing fundamentals in place to promote his salespeople to network, but he feels so strongly about this notion of networking that he actually has built KPIs, key performance indicators around this. And he reviews this metric with his sales team in their weekly one-on-ones. They have to tell him at every one-on-one, one-to-one, how many network events they've attended this past week, how many, more are they attending, do they have planned, they kind of go through the calendar of what new networking events are lined up. And because he feels so strongly that in order for sales success and pipeline generation, the sales team needs to be out there focused on building relationships and on networking. And especially for brand new salespeople, or if he has some junior sales rep that he's hired, he feels strongly they need to develop a networking base. And so he actually expects them to attend 5 to 6 networking events a week. Because really, what else do they have to focus on in the first, months of their employment? And then for his more seasoned sales reps, his more senior sales reps, he expects them to attend maybe 2 to 3 networking events a week just for maintenance purposes. And so, what he really encourages, from this networking, to help them really develop that calendar of networking events, you can spend all your time at networking events, but he wants them to be targeted, intentional events that they're attending, is when they do their quarterly business reviews or their executive business reviews. They will often ask their best customers, okay, what vendors do you work with? What vendors do you, that you really enjoy working with? Products are you using? What other services are you using besides me that you feel are valuable? And if you are engaged with them, maybe we should be engaged with as well. Or finding out again, what associations or what conferences do you attend? We'd be interested in maybe attending them as well, because if you find value in those, I would probably find value in those as well. And that, again, that's where the verticalized niche aspect comes into play. Because again, if these customers of yours feel that these vendors or these associations or these conferences, they get a lot of value out of them, then it's giving your team high quality people to connect with that you maybe can possibly do business with them down the line. Or instead of maybe attending events, you decide to hold an event yourself and then invite prospects to it. And I have an MSP that I work with or I've known for years. They do an event every month. Now, that might be overkill, but that's just what works for them. But again, they've been doing this for a long time. So, that adage where, your first time that you do it is not going to be great, but you're never going to get to your 100th time if you never do your first, right? So don't let the fact that maybe you've never held an event before stop you from maybe considering hosting an event. Because you don't need to do it once a month like this partner is. They've been doing this for years. But maybe, you do it once a quarter, or maybe you do it once every 6 months. But the idea is that, you maybe hold a lunch and learn, or maybe you do a breakfast and learn, or maybe you do an after 5 or something like that, where you are the speaker for these types of events. And your goal for these events is just to educate your prospects on a particular topic that you feel would be relevant to that audience. And then you can discuss or weave in or make the connection around how your services and solutions could help benefit that business. And, again, if you've never done an event before, if you've never hosted, don't let that be a deterrent. I have developed an event in a box, which is, I tried to make it everything that an MSP would need to plan, promote, deliver a prospect event. Now this one is more for co-managed, admittedly, but you can easily repurpose it, for any other event that you want to hold. But the important thing is that there's an event planning guide in there, an event planning checklist, so that you can, I tried to cover the bases on what goes into planning an event. So if you want access to this, you can find it in the digital playbook, the co-managed digital playbook that I've included as a handout, or just send me an email or pop it in the question panel that you would like the event in a box, and I can send it over to you. And then strategy number 6, to get more prospects, ask for referrals. Now, I know I just said don't rely on referrals, but it's important to build a process and a system around asking for referrals so that it's not just ad hoc or, hey, we happen to got a referral, but we're building in a system for hopefully a more constant stream of referrals. And this kind of goes back to an idea that an MSP shared with me, how they, their process around asking for referrals. And, they just don't, what they do is they leverage their executive business reviews, those quarterly business reviews. And then if the review went well, hopefully it's a good customer, at the end of the review, they say, hey, instead of saying, this is what I want to say, instead of them saying, hey, do you know anybody that can use our services, and putting their customer in the hot seat, trying to think off the top of their mind who would be a good prospect or a good referral, what she does is she has her dream list of clients, her dream list of businesses that she would love to have as clients someday, and she will print off the LinkedIn profiles about 4, 5, 6 of those prospect businesses, and she brings them with her to the EBR meeting. And then at the end of the executive business review meeting, she will say, thank you, really appreciate your business. I'm looking to grow my business. I'm looking to work with more organizations like yourself. I've kind of identified these, 6 businesses that I would love to have as customers. Do you happen to know anybody? Can you put me in touch with anybody? So by doing this, you're not putting your customer on the spot and having them kind of jog their memory of who, but you're giving them names, and they can easily tell you, oh, yes, yes, or no, no, or maybe that will help jog their memory from that point. And so I thought it was a really good best practice around what she does to systemize the asking of referrals, because she does her quarterly business reviews with all of her customers, and she has just built it into her quarterly business review as part of her wrap-up. Strategy number 7, establish a referral partnership. Now we're getting more onto the advanced side of things when it comes to lead gen here. But if you've done all the marketing fundamentals and you have your referral, asking for a referral process in place, maybe this is the next step for you, establishing a referral partnership. And there's a couple of approaches that this can take. You can either, work with another organization that's kind of in the same line of business with you, but you share the same types of customers. And here I'm thinking kind of web design, graphics firms, where you're the MSP. Like maybe you don't do web design, you don't do graphics, but these people don't, your web graphics don't do managed services. Maybe you can come up with a system where, you send referrals to them if they need website help, and then they send businesses over to you if they need security help, because maybe they're, mentioning some cybersecurity concerns. So more of an informal type of, referral structure. Or maybe you just work within your own social circle. Maybe you have your lawyer, maybe you have your accountant, maybe you have your, banker. And if you have a good relationship with them, maybe you could offer your services to other clients of your accountant, your lawyer, your banker. So if your banker, lawyer, accountant feel that your quality MSP, if they have clients that they're working with where the client expresses, oh, we don't like who we're working with, or we're concerned about cybersecurity, or we're concerned about compliance, then your accountant, lawyer, or banker could then refer that business over to your MSP. But for this to work, again, it's a little bit of a long game, because you have to be out there and networking. You have to go meet these people. You have to go and establish the relationships. And if you can do that, this is a natural extension outcome of putting that work in. And then lastly, again, we have to track, rinse, and repeat, because there is no best way to get in front of business owners. And I get that question a lot. They'll say, okay, Steph, what are the very best MSPs doing? The ones that are growing, what are they doing? What's the single thing? They try to pin me down. What's the single thing that they're trying to do from a marketing perspective, to get more leads? And I can't tell you that. Like, that's why I built a whole boot camp today and delivered it on, what are all the activities that the very best MSPs are doing. They're doing all of these things. It's a variety, a compilation of all these different activities that they're doing to populate the top of their sales funnel. But what they're doing is they're tracking which of those tactics, which of those ways, those channels is working and what's not working. And this is the one thing that I really like about our book club selection for February is Alan goes into how do you quantify that? How do you determine, and he talks about ROI and customer acquisition costs and lifetime value of the client, which is kind of out of scope of what I wanted to talk about today. But, tracking where your marketing dollars are being spent and what's the ROI on those marketing dollars being spent. And once you can track that and you'll have a good understanding of what's working, what's not working, so you can pull that budget away from what's not working and put it towards those activities that are working. And so, but it does involve tracking it to find out what's giving you the most bang for your buck, and then going all in on those avenues, those activities that are working for you. But at the end of the day, doing this whack-a-mole when it comes to marketing is not going to work. They say that the lack of sales that you're experiencing today is due to the lack of marketing that you did 6 to 8 months ago. So we have to be consistent. We have to be persistent when it comes to marketing if we truly want to get that double-digit growth that we're talking about. And so just some additional KPIs, again, benchmarking perspective that you want to talk about, that you may want to track, especially if you're not doing anything today. Kind of see where you are today. You may have a not a good number, but then if you start tracking, you start doing marketing, measure where you are again 6 months from now, 12 months from now. And then kind of taking all this information, how do you action it? Because I know I recognize I just sent a lot of information talking to you. I did give you the marketing fundamentals guide. I also wanted to talk to you about our go-to-market plan. So this is a screenshot of our go-to-market plan. You again download it from the handout section. It's just meant to really kind of go through everything that we were talking about today and give you an opportunity, a place to write the stuff down and document your notes and give you, kind of that one document to keep all your thoughts together. And then I talked about how great and how important content marketing is, but this is where Market Builder can help, because if you're thinking, I can't write stuff, I don't have time to write, I don't know what to write about, we have our Market Builder. It is available to every MSP that is an enabled partner. And basically what this is your automation platform where we provide you, I think 80, 85 different campaigns where we give you the SEO keywords, we give you the key messagings, we give you the emails content, we give you the social media content, we give you the landing pages. So there's a lot of content in there that you can use, repurpose to help get you started, so that you don't, if you're not much of a writer, if you're not that creative, we've done a lot of that work for you. So if you're not an active Market Builder user today, I wanted to put a QR code in there, let you know that it is free, there's no cost, you're a partner of Enable, you have access to Market Builder. So definitely encourage you to check it out there. So just to kind of close up, again, I'm always being asked, what's the one thing that we should be doing from a marketing perspective, Steph? There is none. There's no silver bullets when it comes to marketing success, except making a commitment to it and being persistent with your marketing. So we're not playing whack-a-mole when it comes to our marketing. It's work. Again, I never wanted to say I had an easy button for it, but hopefully through today's boot camp, we've given you the plan, we've given you the materials, we've given you, some good foundational knowledge to get going to help make this a successful motion for you in 2025. So looking at some of the next steps, this boot camp was recorded. We'll get it uploaded into Enable You in the next week or so once marketing has had an opportunity to clean it up. So go ahead and retake this. Again, there's a lot that we covered today. Nice thing is about the recording is you can just, go to the section that you want or pass it along to other people if you feel that they would benefit from it. Make sure if you haven't done yet that you've downloaded all the source material from the handout section. And then, let's continue the conversation, right? Like, hopefully you will register for my new Sales and Marketing Book Club. It is all focused on marketing and lead gen this year. Every month we're going to be talking about a new book. So make sure you register for that. Next week, I'm continuing on with part 2 of the lead gen, and this is just all about how do you commercialize those leads. So we're building up our email base, we're building up our social media audience. How do we commercialize that and get some leads out of that? And again, if you haven't checked out Market Builder, make sure you do that out. And then if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And then the last slide, again, just a QR code there to register for my office hours. February 18th is when my book club is starting. So you can register just for my February office hours, March office hours. I'm reformatting or repurposing that time slot for the book club. And then you can see my boot camps there for the rest of Q1. Really, we're going to be focusing on lead gen and sales. So really striving to kickstart a really good 2025 for everyone. All right, so thank you everyone. Absolutely appreciate your time. Any questions? I'm on LinkedIn. Hopefully you're on LinkedIn, we're connected. And there's my email. Never hesitate to reach out and let me know how I can help. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the week and a good weekend. Take care.